You finally got it, the thing you spent years thinking about. The money, the relationship, the promotion, the house, the recognition, the freedom. The moment when you could finally say, now I can relax. And yet, strangely, the moment arrives and something inside you is still waiting. Perhaps this is one of the quietest mysteries of being human. Why can you desperately want something for years? Imagine how wonderful life will feel when you have it, finally receive it, and then discover that the feeling does not stay. At first, there is excitement. You look at what you have achieved and think, this is it. But after a while, the extraordinary becomes ordinary. The new car becomes transportation. The beautiful house becomes the place where you leave your keys. The promotion becomes another list of responsibilities. The relationship becomes part of everyday life. The money becomes a number that must now be protected. And then, almost without noticing, the mind whispers another sentence. Perhaps the next thing will finally do it. And so the journey begins again. There is nothing wrong with wanting more. There is nothing wrong with ambition, comfort, financial freedom, love, beauty, achievement, or a meaningful life. The strange thing is not desire itself. The strange thing is the belief that desire is carrying a hidden promise. The promise that somewhere in the future there is an arrangement of circumstances that will finally make you feel complete. So you chase success because you believe success will allow you to rest. You chase money because you believe money will finally make you feel safe. You chase love because you believe being loved will finally silence the feeling that something is missing. You chase recognition because you imagine that if enough people see your value, perhaps you will finally see it too. And sometimes you get exactly what you wanted, only to discover that you have brought yourself along with you. The same mind that was restless before the achievement is restless afterward. The same fear that existed before the money may simply find something new to protect. The same insecurity that existed before the relationship may begin asking whether the relationship will last. The scenery changes. The psychological pattern remains. It is almost as if you climbed a mountain believing that peace was waiting at the top, only to reach the summit and realize that you carried the climb inside your mind. And this does not mean the mountain was meaningless. It means perhaps you misunderstood what the mountain was for. Maybe achievement was never supposed to save you. Maybe it was supposed to be experienced. There is a subtle difference. When you believe something must save you, you cannot simply enjoy it. You have to possess it, you have to measure it, you have to protect it. You have to constantly ask whether it is still giving you the feeling you expected. And the moment you begin asking an experience to guarantee your happiness, you have already placed a weight upon it that no experience can carry forever. Think about a beautiful sunset. You can watch it. You can be moved by it. You can photograph it. But imagine standing beneath that sunset and saying, "This must make me happy. It must continue making me happy. I need this feeling to last." Suddenly, you are no longer watching the sunset. You are monitoring your happiness, and something beautiful becomes a test. This happens everywhere. A person finally gets the job they wanted, but now they are afraid of losing it. Someone finally earns enough money to feel comfortable, but comfort slowly becomes the minimum acceptable level. And now more money is required. Someone finds love, but instead of simply loving, they begin worrying about whether they are loved enough. Someone becomes successful, and success creates a new identity that must constantly be defended. The mind has a remarkable ability to turn gifts into obligations. It takes what is beautiful and asks, "How can I make this permanent?" But life does not work that way. Everything moves, everything changes. The flower opens and closes. The tide arrives and disappears. The cloud forms and dissolves. The body grows older. Children become adults. Friendships change. Careers change. Desires change. Even the person who wanted the thing is not the same person who finally received it. And perhaps this is why getting what you wanted can feel strangely empty. You were not only chasing an object, you were chasing a version of yourself. You imagined that future you would be calmer, more confident, more secure, more admired, more free. So when the external event finally happened, you expected an internal transformation. But the future version of you never arrived. You arrived, and you were still you. This is where the deeper question begins. What if the emptiness was never caused by not having enough? What if it came from believing that enough was somewhere outside you? Imagine spending 20 years building a beautiful house. Every brick is placed carefully, every room is designed, the windows are wide, the furniture is beautiful, the garden is peaceful. And finally, you walk through the front door, but instead of sitting down and feeling the quietness of the room, you immediately begin inspecting it. Is it enough? Could it be larger? What will people think? What should I improve next? And suddenly, you are not living in the house. You are managing the idea of the house. This is what the ego often does with life. It turns existence into a project. It says, "I am not finished. I need to become better. I need to become successful. I need to become peaceful. I need to become enlightened. I need to become someone." And perhaps the strangest form of striving is striving to become the person who no longer strives. Even spirituality can become another achievement. Mindfulness can become another performance. Self-awareness can become another identity. The mind can say, "I am becoming more conscious than I used to be." And now consciousness itself has become another possession. Can you see the paradox? The mind keeps trying to escape itself by creating a better version of itself. But the one doing the escaping is the same mind. It is like trying to climb out of a hole by pulling on your own shadow. You may become more successful. You may become wiser. You may become healthier. You may become wealthier. You may become more disciplined. All of these things can be valuable, but none of them can permanently answer the question of who you are. Because the moment you say, now I am finally complete, another thought appears. What next? And there you are again, running. So perhaps we should pause here, not to solve anything, not to improve anything, just to notice, take a slow breath, feel the weight of your body, notice the room around you. There is no achievement required for this breath to happen. No future version of yourself needs to approve it. No amount of money needs to make it meaningful. For a moment, let yourself stop negotiating with the present. Imagine that you are sitting beside a quiet river in the late afternoon. The air is cool. The water moves without asking where it is going. There is no hurry in it. You hear the soft movement of the current, perhaps birds somewhere in the distance. Perhaps leaves touching one another in the wind. Feel your breathing. Do not improve it. Do not control it. Just notice that breathing is happening. Now imagine that across the river, someone is sitting beneath a tree. You recognize them. It is you, but not exactly the you who is sitting here. This is the version of you that you have spent years trying to become. Look at them. Perhaps they are wealthy. They have financial freedom. They wake up in a beautiful home. They travel. They work on things that matter to them. They can buy what they need without constantly worrying about money. Perhaps people respect them. Perhaps they are admired. Perhaps they look confident. Perhaps they have the relationship they always dreamed of. Perhaps their life appears peaceful from a distance. Look carefully. What is their face like? Do they look completely free, or are they still carrying something? Walk toward them slowly. There is no need to impress them, no need to become them. Just sit beside them and ask one simple question. What did you think would happen when you finally got everything you wanted? Listen. Perhaps they say, I thought I would finally stop worrying. Perhaps they say, I thought I would finally feel worthy. Perhaps they say, I thought I would finally be able to breathe. Now look at them again. They have everything you once imagined. And yet they are still breathing, still thinking, still experiencing ordinary moments, still capable of fear, still capable of uncertainty, still capable of losing things. The money did not remove their humanity. The success did not remove change. The beautiful life did not turn existence into a permanent state of satisfaction. And suddenly, you notice something. The peace you thought belonged to that future person was not actually contained inside their possessions. It was in the quiet moment when they stopped asking life to prove something, the river continues moving. The future version of you begins to fade. The house disappears, the money disappears, the applause disappears. The imagined admiration becomes silent. And what remains? You, breathing, sitting, alive. Nothing spectacular has happened, and yet something has changed. For perhaps the first time, you are not asking the moment to become something else. You are simply here. Stay here for a moment. Notice the space between one thought and the next. Notice how a thought arrives without permission. Notice how it leaves without asking. You do not have to fight it. You do not have to follow it. You can let it pass like a cloud. And perhaps this is the beginning of understanding. The problem was never that you wanted too much. The problem was that you expected each new thing to complete an identity that was always changing. You were trying to use temporary experiences to create permanent certainty, and life cannot provide that. Life is not a statue. It is water. You cannot freeze it without changing what it is. This is why the person who finally gets everything may discover something unexpected. There is no final arrival, not because life is cruel, because life is alive. A river does not reach a final state where it says, I have now become the perfect river. A tree does not complete its existence when it reaches a certain height. A song does not become meaningful because it reaches the last note. The last note matters because the music was moving. And perhaps your life is like that. You were taught to measure it by destinations, graduation, career, marriage, money, house, .t, retirement. But what if these are simply notes in the music? What if the mistake is expecting the final note to explain the entire song? Consider someone who spends 20 years trying to become successful. Every morning, they wake early. They sacrifice weekends. So they postpone vacations. They tell themselves, one day I will rest. One day I will travel. One day I will spend time with my family. One day I will enjoy the life I am building. And then finally, success arrives. But the person has become so practiced at postponing life that they no longer know how to inhabit it. This is not a failure of ambition. It is a failure of presence. You can build something beautiful and still forget to live inside it. You can love someone deeply and still spend the entire relationship worrying about whether they will leave. You can have money and spend every night thinking about losing it. You can become admired and become terrified of disappointing people. The object was never the prison. The relationship with the object was. This is why freedom is not necessarily having nothing. Freedom can mean having something without needing it to tell you who you are. You can have money without worshiping it. You can have success without becoming dependent on applause. You can love without trying to possess. You can pursue a dream without believing the dream will rescue you. You can plan for tomorrow while still allowing today to exist. This is a quieter kind of freedom, and it requires something the ego finds difficult: uncertainty. The ego wants guarantees. It wants to know that the relationship will last, that the money will remain, that the body will stay healthy, that the career will succeed, that people will approve, that tomorrow will resemble today. But uncertainty is not an error in life. It is the atmosphere of life. You cannot have a living world without change. The same uncertainty that frightens you is also what makes surprise possible. It is why an ordinary morning can suddenly become beautiful. It is why someone can enter your life unexpectedly. It is why a failure can redirect you. It is why a conversation can change you. A completely predictable life would be perfectly safe and completely dead. Perhaps we fear uncertainty because we mistake control for safety. But control is often exhausting. You try to hold every piece in place, you monitor every outcome, you rehearse every conversation, you imagine every possible disaster. And eventually, you realize that you have spent so much energy controlling life that you have forgotten to experience it. There is a difference between responsibility and control. Responsibility says, I will respond as wisely as I can. Control says, reality must obey my plan. One leaves room for life, the other fights the river, and the river is always stronger. So, what happens when you stop demanding that life be different before you allow yourself to be present? Something subtle. You begin to notice the sound of rain against a window, the warmth of sunlight on your hands, the expression on someone's face while they are speaking, the strange comfort of an ordinary meal, the quiet between two people who do not need to fill every silence. The fact that your body has carried you through every version of yourself you have ever been. You begin to realize that life was never hiding inside the extraordinary. It was moving through the ordinary the entire time. And perhaps this is why getting what you wanted can feel empty. Not because the thing was worthless, but because you asked it to perform a miracle it was never designed to perform. You asked money to give you peace. You asked love to give you identity. You asked success to give you worth. You asked the future to give you permission to live. And the future simply kept moving. Maybe the deepest freedom is not getting everything you want. Maybe it is discovering that wanting something does not require you to abandon the moment you are already in. You can desire more and still appreciate what is here. You can improve your life without treating your current life as a mistake. You can change without constantly rejecting yourself. You can grow without declaring war on who you are today. And perhaps that is where the strange emptiness begins to soften. Not because you finally found the perfect answer, but because you stopped demanding one, Now let the world become quiet again. Take another slow breath. There is nowhere else you need to be for this moment. The future may contain beautiful things. Perhaps you will earn more. Perhaps you will fall in love. Perhaps you will build a business. Perhaps you will travel. Perhaps you will achieve something you have dreamed about for years. Let those possibilities remain open. You do not have to destroy ambition to discover peace. You do not have to reject success to become free. You do not have to pretend that money does not matter. It can matter, love can matter, beauty can matter, achievement can matter. The mistake is only believing that these things must arrive before your life becomes real. Look at your hands. Look around you. Listen. There is already a life happening here. Not the life you imagined. Not the life you were promised. Not the life you think you should have. This one, the imperfect one, the unfinished one, the changing one, the one with unanswered questions, the one with moments you cannot keep, the one that will never remain exactly as it is now. And strangely, that may be what makes it precious. You do not need to turn this moment into a memory before you have lived it. You do not need to capture every beautiful thing. You do not need to make every experience meaningful. Sometimes a moment can simply happen, a breath can simply be a breath. A sunset can simply disappear. A conversation can end, a season can pass, and nothing has gone wrong. Has perhaps the emptiness you felt after getting what you wanted was not a sign that you had chosen the wrong destination. Perhaps it was a quiet invitation to stop asking destinations to give you what only presence can give. You thought you were searching for a better life. Maybe underneath it all, you were searching for permission to inhabit the life you already had. And perhaps that permission was never something another achievement could grant. The room is quiet. Your breathing continues. The world outside keeps moving. There are things you still want. There are things you still fear. There are questions you cannot answer. Let them remain. You do not have to solve your entire existence tonight. You only have to notice that you are here, not complete, not finished, not perfectly certain, just here. And perhaps, for a moment, that is enough, because life was never waiting at the end of the road. It was never hidden inside the next achievement, the next number, the next relationship, or the next version of you. It was moving quietly beneath your feet while you were busy trying to arrive. And when you finally stop for long enough to notice, you may discover that what you were searching for was not waiting somewhere ahead. It was the simple, impossible, beautiful fact that you were already alive.